You are now listening to the smooth sensations and high vibrations of Alex, host of the best relationship channel on YouTube. Alex, drop them gems on us.
You got a big bag, let me take. Show me where your friends at, we can flip that. Let me put you on the game.
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 Show you where the red at, where the blue at. Show you where they flip that, where they bitch at. Let me put you on the game.
Let me put you on the game.
Let me put you on the game.
Let me put you on the game right now.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Alex. Shout out to the Elite Fleet. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can become a member of Elite Fleet. And today we gotta talk about Ja Morant, because the Ja Morant situation isn't much different than the Michael B. Jordan situation, which isn't much different than the situation that most black men, especially when you're young, but even as they grow older and they come into themselves as men and their masculinity, go through. And that's the idea that you're corny, you lame, you a nerd, dork, geek, educated lame, whatever the case may be, because you're not hood. Because Michael B. and Ja Morant are dealing with the same thing. It comes from the exact same place, and it's that need to fit in to the toxic ass hood culture and that bubble of being a bad boy that everyone constantly tries to put black men in. Now, I discussed the Michael B. Jordan situation, so I know most of the subscribers are aware of that. I have not discussed the Ja Morant situation. So what's going on right now is Ja Morant was on his Instagram live with a gun over his head, and the NBA caught wind of it, and he's suspended for at least 2 games, and supposedly he just released a statement where he said he's checking himself in to get help to find better ways to deal with his trauma or whatever the case may be. Now, here's the problem. This isn't the first time Ja Morant's been linked to a gun. It isn't the first time he's gotten himself into these goofy situations. You had the one coach, I think it was of the Indiana Pacers, who claims that Ja Morant was in a car where some guys were waving guns at them when they arrived at the airport, all right? You had him allegedly beat up a 17-year-old kid and brandish a gun at him. All right? He even got into it on Twitter, back and forth with Kendrick Perkins, I believe that it was, and told Kendrick Perkins, oh, you can see, it's free to see how these hollows feel. Because a fan replied to the chat. A fan replied to the chat after he got into it with Kendrick Perkins. And his reply to the fan was, it's free to see how these hollows feel. So Ja Morant is sucked into trying to appease to this thug, hood, bad boy image. Now, here's the thing. Ja Morant is not from the hood. Now, I know some people going to probably try to comment, oh, you don't know, Ja Morant, he was a thug, he was in the streets like what, all that. Let me tell you what's up with Ja Morant. Ja Morant grew up in a 2-parent household where they owned the house in the suburbs. He stayed in that one house his entire life. He went to private school, graduated from private school, then went to Murray State, got his college degree, then went to the NBA. Okay? I'm pretty sure Ja Morant finished his college degree, but then went to the NBA. We heard no sign, trace, nothing of Ja Morant being any type of a thug, what, until he got to the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, for those of you who don't know about the city of Memphis, the city of Memphis is known for its thug culture, its hood culture, its street culture, putting out rappers and things of that nature, right? So that whole team has seemed to pick up this bad boy, oh, you don't want to come to Memphis image. It's not even just Ja Morant. Ja Morant is just taking it to the extreme. This is the same team that was trying to fight Shannon Sharp. This is the same team that's always getting into it with everyone and trying to portray this tough image. So what it seems like to me is Ja Morant, who again, we had no win, tell, or sign of Ja Morant being some type of super thug until he got to the NBA, specifically to Memphis. It seems to me that he got to Memphis, got into the Memphis culture, and decided he wanted to portray that on the court. Like I said, just like his teammates are doing, but the difference is Ja Morant's taking it to the ultimate extreme. Now, maybe he got himself wrapped up into something that he shouldn't have and he has to now, or maybe he's just trying really hard to give off that image. But it seems to me like Ja Morant doesn't want to come off as a corny dude from the suburbs. That's what it seems like to me. We got pictures of Ja Morant and button-ups and all that, going to school, cheesing all hard. Ja Morant's not a thug. You're not going to be able to convince me Ja Morant's a thug. He's not. He's not. But for whatever reason now, he's decided that that's the image that he wants to portray and that he wants to put out there. And what's bothering me is no one's calling Ja Morant corny. So how is it Ja Morant, again, grew up in a two-parent household in the suburbs, in one house his entire life, they owned the house, went to private school, went to college, got drafted into the NBA, and then all of a sudden became a super thug, what? He's not corny, but Michael B. Jordan, right, who was always himself, was just focused on his purpose, which was to become an actor, right, and to become a model, walk around with his headshots, minding his own business, staying out of trouble. He was viewed as the corny kid. He's still viewed as the corny person. There's black women to this day saying, oh yeah, Michael B. Jordan, I guess he got money now, so he can't be street, he can't be hood. He's corny. He just seems like the nice guy. We know the nice guy treats you better, but still. Meanwhile, is Michael B. Jordan blowing his opportunity at success? Nope. Michael B. Jordan is on the red carpet, living it up, laughing in the face of the people who used to call him corny. Meanwhile, Ja Morant, entire NBA career is starting to fall into jeopardy because he cannot stop trying to prove that he's not corny to people who, at the end of the day, if he's no longer Ja Morant, if he ends up like Clee Anthony Early, and Google this, and gets shot in both of his kneecaps in the strip club in New York, trying to be a what, no one's gonna care anymore. He's just gonna be another black man who got caught up in some hood stuff, right? So he's walking on that path where you gotta make a decision. And it's rough because it's like I said, it's a sad, like we take our brightest people, right? Michael B. Jordan, for example, should be a bright spot in the black community. We should be inspiring young black kids to act like Michael B. Jordan, to stay out of trouble, to be a good role model, to focus on their purpose, to ignore and avoid the hood, to not succumb to the idea of being a super thug, despite women calling him corny and still calling him corny for not doing it, so that he does not end up like Ja Morant. But instead, you got people making excuses for Ja Morant and continuing to call Michael B. Jordan corny. And this is why I've said before, and I said all the time, we need to have a divide in the black community. Because as long as we keep trying to mix the successful, educated, higher class black community with the street thug, lower class hood dude, hood rat community, this is what's going to keep happening. And because the hood rat thug community tends to run pop culture, when you're dealing with children, right, or you're dealing with young adults, they're generally gonna not go to Michael B. Jordan route because it takes strength to be okay with being called corny. It takes strength to be viewed as a lame. It takes strength to keep your head up high and stay on your purpose and stay on your focus. It's easier to just say, the hell with it, I'm gonna just go in the streets. I'm gonna be a thug, what? I'm gonna just go in the streets and I'm gonna do that. That's the easy path. That's the path of least resistance. That's the path most people are gonna take. That's the path that leads to you being cool. That's the path that leads to you being popular. That's the path that leads to you getting easier access to women because you don't have to church for the women who are like you. When you're Michael B. Jordan, is there a lot of women like you? Yeah, there's a lot of women who like Michael B. Jordan, but you gotta search for them if you're not Michael B. Jordan. Most people ain't gonna put in that work. That's what this channel is all about. I'm like, this is how you find elite women. This is how you vet out women who are pretending to be elite who are trash. This is how you get in where you fit in. This is how you become an elite man and stay away from trash women, right? But there's a whole process to that. It's easy to find a hood rat. They all over the place. If you black, you're not going to have a hard time finding the hood rat. You're not. So it's easier to just appeal to the hood rat than to make yourself an elite man and then weed out the hood rats and find an elite woman. So that's the path most people are going to take. It pays off early, right? Being an elite man generally doesn't pay off till later. Being a thug pays off early. So that's the path most of them are going to take. The problem is that path will put you in jeopardy like Ja Morant, whereas the path with more resistance has a greater reward like Michael B. Jordan's. The problem is, as young black men, we shouldn't even be put in a position where we have to choose. We shouldn't. Because we should automatically encourage people like Michael B. Jordan. Again, some of the best, brightest, smartest, most articulate minds in our community. We should be praising them and propping them up. And not praising and propping up hood and thug cultures. And then when people try to perpetuate that culture, making excuses for them like we do John Morant. Now, some people want to say, right, well, where is John Morant's father? And to an extent, I get it. Because he want to be all up in the videos on the NBA, you know, dancing in the background like Suge Knight, doing the two-step and all that. So some people are like, well, where's John Morant's father? But I'm going to tell you guys this. I refuse to blame John Morant's father for any of this, and here's why. John Morant's father, at the end of the day, gave him a stable house to live in. He put that boy in private school to keep him away from the BS, got the million to college, helped the boy get to the NBA. Right? I'm not giving him all the credit. Obviously, John Morant had the talent, but you get the point. He cultivated the environment to keep him out of trouble, provided a stable home for him, an affluent one at that. His father did his job. He's at his games all the time supporting him. You know, I was an athlete in high school all the way up to college, right? You know how many kids, especially inner city kids, grew up and their parents were never at any games? So many of my teammates used to rally around my mom because my mom was always at everything. She was always at every game. Even when my sister cheerleaded, she went to the games to support them cheerleading. People used to rally around our mother because she was there. She was like the team mom, the cheer mom, the football mom, the track mom. She was always there. Most people's parents don't even go. Obviously, they're going to go if you make it to the league. I'm talking about before you get there. Team Morant was always there. So to an extent, do I understand why they're saying, Dad, you got to step in, try to get him straight? Yes. But am I going to blame Team Morant for what John Morant's got going on? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, John Morant is a grown-ass man who is consciously making the decision to be an idiot. And I refuse to blame Team Morant for that because John Morant's a grown-ass man, and also because the vast majority of the thugs, of the hood dudes we see making these dumbass decisions were raised by single mothers, and y'all never blame them. And if you try to blame them, a bunch of people, not limited to women, because a bunch of men will get mad at you too and say, oh, that don't matter, da 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 da. So no, I'm not going to blame Team Morant, as if he doesn't have a mother too, by the way. John Morant's mother ain't dead. She ain't going no damn where. So no, I'm not going to blame Team Morant. Team Morant did his job. He did what a parent's supposed to do. John's a grown-ass man. If John want to be John Wick, that's on John Morant. No, I'm not going to blame Team Morant. Because we don't know what he's doing behind closed doors. We don't know what he's telling John. He probably didn't even know John was going to go live with that gun. There's no way Team Morant would have told him, yes, son, that's a good idea. Stop it. And I don't want to see John Morant fail, but he is the definition of corny. A privileged kid who was given everything, who still wants to perpetuate hood culture to appease people who don't really care about him. If anything's corny, that's corny. And the fact that the community, and I get that there's a section of the community who looks at him as corny, but we all should be looking at him as corny. The majority of the community should be looking at him as corny. There should be no 50-50 split. The fact that there's a 50-50 split is the problem, and it sucks for young black men. Because, let me end with this gem. In the white community, and this never gets talked about, right? Half of them are below the poverty line. Half of them are below the poverty line. A large chunk of them, about a quarter of them, are trailer park trash, sleeping with their cousins, and all types of stuff, eating squirrels and raccoons. Do we ever talk about the white people who are below poverty? Do we ever talk about the trailer park trash? Do we even associate white people with that? No. Why? Because they praise and put in front of us their best, their brightest, their smartest. They make sure that their image is marriage, family, smart, educated, middle class, affluent. So we don't even talk about the 50% chunk of them that ain't that. That's half. We don't even talk about it because they don't let that control their narrative. Meanwhile, in the black community, I have the blessing of living in one of the richest black counties in America. As a matter of fact, honestly, the richest black county in America. Let's just call it spade because that's what it is. And I've made a video about this before. Half the kids here want to pretend that they thugs, want to pretend that they're hood rats, want to twerk around and brandish guns and run into the inner cities of D.C. and drive down to the inner cities of Baltimore because that's what's popping in our culture, because we refuse to elevate. the doctors, the lawyers, the Michael B. Jordan types, the Michelle Obama types that most of y'all wouldn't talk to. Y'all gonna pretend that y'all would? No, y'all would not. Most of y'all taking Ice Spice over Michelle Obama all day, every day, and twice on Sundays when you got some free time. Because we refuse to promote the Michael B. Jordans, the Barack Obamas, the Michelle Obamas, and all the likes as the norm in our community, because we refuse to promote that huxtable image. We used to, but we don't anymore. Now we want to promote that I'm independent, I can do it all by myself. Now we want to promote that thug. What? We want to promote all that. Now we're in a situation where if you're not that, you feel bad. If you're not that, you feel like you need to change. Instead of if you are that, you feel like you're letting people down and you need to change. Michael B. Jordan is being literally pressured to be like John Morant, and John Morant's about to blow his bag. John Morant has no pressure to be like Michael B. Jordan, outside of from the NBA, which is ran by who? Too many gems for y'all. It's the white man pushing John Morant to act like Michael B. Jordan, not black people. And they always want to be like, oh, what's the problem with the community? That's the problem. That you can live in the richest black community in America and they want to portray themselves as hood dudes and hood rats because that's what's popping. That's the issue. And it's sad, man. And it's sad. That's why I call this group the elite fleet. Because over here, we don't talk about hood dudes and hood rats all the time. Do we talk about them sometimes? Yes. But we talk about getting this bad. We talk about being affluent. We talk about being married. We talk about starting families. Getting this money. Buying houses. We talk about the rich class. We're proud to be affluent black people over here. And if you're not there yet, join the fleet. Because that's what we're all trying to get if we're not already there. Over here, you don't got to be embarrassed to not be an idiot. And I realized that I'm speaking from a lucky position because I actually grew up in the hood and dragged myself to the suburbs. So because of that, I already have a certain bop. I already have a certain vernacular where even though I'm doing things that would be viewed as corny, I'm not, because everyone can still sniff the, nah, he been through something on me. But for someone like John Morant, it sucks because he didn't grow up that way. So he has to over-perpetrate, which leads to situations like this. A real thug ain't going on Instagram Live with a gun on the side of his head. He's not. A real hot boy, a dude who really got a criminal record, who could really go down for something, he's not even doing anything this stupid. Josh showing you that he's not hood by even choosing to act like this. But I can go in on this all day, man. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Listen, young black men, I understand that there's not a lot of places where you're encouraged to be smart, to be articulate, to chase your dreams, to not be street, to not die trying to impress women or trying to impress your friends, to take your time and take the long road to the wealth that's going to last your whole life instead of going to the quick money and getting killed for it. But here you will be encouraged to do that. And here you will find like-minded women to remind you that there are women out there who do like these types of black men, so that you know that you are not alone. You might have to dig a little harder, you might have to church a little harder, but they exist. And slowly but surely, like I said earlier in the video, we are going to have a divide. We are going to finally separate the affluent, logical, educated, smart, family-oriented black people from the hood dudes and the hood rats. And we're just going to we're going to have that split. Just like they have in the white community where they take all the trailer park trash and the people who are under poverty and basically just kind of ignore them. And they pump up the affluent class. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we have to do to end this madness. But that's going to take time. So in the meantime, to get that encouragement, you need to be right here because that's where you're going to get it. I am Alex and I am out. Peace.